All right, welcome everyone to our July 20th Town Council meeting. Let's get started with the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you, everyone. First item on the agenda, as always, is public comment. This portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing public comment via email should email publicmeetings@rockyhillct.gov prior to 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting to have their public comment read into the record. Do we have anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Seeing none, do we have anything in writing? And we have nothing in writing. All right, going once, going twice. All right, moving to appointments and resignations.
We have none.
None.
We do actually have one. Bill O'Sullivan has resigned as alternate for planning and zoning.
Selected yet that
No, but I don't know if we had announced the resignation in the first place.
No,
So,
I don't think we
okay.
announced it.
Yep. Yes.
There will be an opening that we'll have it for next meeting.
What's
Yes.
he resigning from?
Planning and zoning
Zoning?
as an alternate.
Alternate.
Yes. So we'll be
We
working.
also need an appointee for the health district.
Correct. From the minority side, correct? Yes.
Okay.
All right, so we went from 0 to 2.
I've gotten the formal resignation, yeah.
Yes, I believe the town manager and the committee chair got it in writing. So moving on to minutes. First, we have our reoccurring May 18th, 2026 minutes. Do I have a motion for this one? Or do we need any more amendments on it?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion?
Is this May 18th? May 18th.
This is the May 18th, 2026 meeting. Any discussion? All right.
He's
All
got
in-
something.
If you speak
All right,
now
all
or
right.
forever hold your peace.
Sorry. Just a couple quick things. Namely, let me just pull the one that matters most. So Councilor Emanuel left the meeting before the vote on the amendment and the vote on the final resolution on the budget. And you had stated on your way out of the meeting that you would vote for the amendment. We were in discussion at the time. On the document, it indicates that you both abstained and voted for it. So on the minutes. So I just want to be clear as to whether,
It shouldn't be reflected at all because I
Yeah,
left the
right.
meeting early.
and so it should
didn't
be
vote.
absent if anything, right?
Right.
So yeah, like item on, let me see
Yeah, it was
this.
a good catch. I didn't even see that.
Like on page 4, we also, for the listing of the meeting minutes that we approved in that meeting, it has a formulation where it says unanimously vote, like, by those present, and sometimes it says abstaining thereafter by, like, a counselor who wasn't at that meeting. It's a little bit confusing. I think the formulation needs to be, like, the motion passed, the number of votes, with named counselor abstaining for those items. But that's basically it, just the difference between abstention and absent, which is important there.
Absent.
And maybe just putting the vote totals next to where we had motions on minutes, so that it's clear what the votes were. And that's it.
Okay, so,
I just wanted to,
Yes.
if I will, because I know we've had issue with this, so at least I can give you the reassurance of the efforts that have occurred. Because I did speak to the individual that's working on this, and we've made a concerted effort that all names will be checked and spelled properly, all the grammar and so forth. In fact, even public speakers, I've been checking against the register of voters to make sure we have correct addresses and so forth. We'll continue to make sure that these are corrected as you need We do have the verbatim version, which is definitely not a readable document. It's got the minute, and then it'll interrupt, any, and, whatever, and sometimes not catching who the speaker is. So we'll continue to do the best to make these. And feel free, if you have any chance before they come out to the packet, or even when you come out for the draft, feel free to tell Daniel if there's any corrections, and we can make sure you have it corrected, amended, so you can take the action.
And I apologize, I'm going to, just as a little personal privilege moment, say that the quality of this offering today it has improved dramatically. The work is obvious to me that it's been done. The things I'm now nitpicking on are so small that it's like next level. Sorry about that.
We'll do it.
All right, so,
I'm just trying to think about the original motion. So should it be amended with changes?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I move that.
so you're going to move to amend the original motion with the changes
As described.
as described. Anybody want a second?
Can I hear those changes again? I'm sorry. You're just making Emmanuel's vote non-abstention, just absent?
Because I was not here.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
it's two things. It's that, and then on page 4 where it describes our votes on the minutes of previous meetings, just having a clearer formulation of what the vote was on it. Because right now it could read as unanimously voted on by those present at the meeting where we voted on those minutes being approved, or those present at the meeting that the minutes are about. Like it's a little bit ambiguous.
Okay.
So it's just those two changes. His vote being absent for both the amendment to the budget and the budget itself.
Okay, I'm good with that. I just want to make sure, I thought you were going to take some stuff out too, but that's good.
No.
I thought the minutes were better as well.
I thought so. The
Yeah, I
detail
think-
level was much better.
And this, and verbatim isn't always necessary, but I think in this case, it's the budget vote, it's a substantial vote, so, erring on the side of having more rather than less, or not summarizing is certainly, important for this one, so.
The verbatim is being used as part of a source document, so it's not.
Right.
It's just not one of those where you just print it and say, my day is done. This definitely needs interpretation simultaneously with
Yes.
actually viewing the video.
It's the use of the technology in concert with human eyes and ears.
100%.
Yes. So, all in favor of the amended motion? Aye. All right. So is that good for May 18th?
I think so.
All right.
Yep.
June 16th, our special meeting for that one. Do I have a motion for that one? Or do we want to discuss it first, or do we have any changes to that one?
Well, I have some changes prior. I don't know how you want to handle them. Let me just
Yeah,
give 'em
just
out.
give your changes, and then we can,
Okay, with the vote for the public art policy for the crosswalk, the minority, each three of us abstained, and we also gave reasons for abstaining. Our reasons are not in there. Just says we abstained, and that was the end of it. I just think it's not that we're necessarily against public art, but there's reasons why we abstained, and I think that's important to be documented in the minutes.
I think some of it was in there, not everything,
Okay.
just for the record. There was
Each
there was
three.
discussion points that were in there, so that would lead to why we're abstaining. Okay?
But we specifically said why we abstained, the
Right.
three of us. If you
Put it
could
in
add
there.
that in there, please.
Will do.
so do we want to table this until we add in the reasons for those
That's fine.
abstentions?
I would prefer that, yeah. And I don't have one
Yeah,
of our
that way you can
counselors
see what
here
the-
to have them look it over.
Was it mentioned above in the discussion,
No.
all of your points, or no?
No.
Some of the points were made, but the
Not all
ultimate
of them,
point
okay. I was
was
gonna say, you
not.
could say as stated above, but if they're not all in there, then. it should be-
No, yeah, we specifically
that's what
said
I'm
why
asking.
we're
That's why I'm
abstaining,
asking.
and each
Yeah.
of us three gave that.
That's why I'm asking.
No, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so,
To table?
yeah. And do I have a second to table, or all in favor of tabling? Aye. And C, speed and red light camera, July 1st minutes. Would anybody have any discussion?
Oh, don't we need to make a motion on it first? All right, then I'll open the discussion to say I have one technical change, and this is not the fault of the person who is working on this. This is a very specific one. On page 4, it lists the intersection of West Street / Route 91. For the sake of future key searches, it's best to talk about an intersection as like West Street, ampersand, or and then I-91. I-91 just being the better designee. So that's it.
All right. Any other changes recommended? Okay, so can I get a motion to adopt the minutes as amended?
Yep. I move to approve the minutes of the July 1st, 2026 public discussion on speed and red light cameras with the following amendment on page 4, replace West Street / Route 91 interchange corridor with West Street and I-91 interchange corridor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We got most of them. So let's get progress. Like I said, we're incorporating technology to give, a little bit more information. We just, there's still a human element in there too. So, subcommittee reports, financial capital improvements.
The last finance meeting was canceled due to an audit, the annual audit going on. So we'll have updates next month.
Okay. Government ops. Public safety.
Public safety met earlier prior to the council meeting, and I have a few updates. We'll start with the police.
John, can you make sure you get closer to the microphone? I can barely.
I think it's moving by itself down. I'd encourage folks in the public and here to check out the police department's new CAD system. And it's fairly easy. If you go to the Rocky Hill homepage and you go to departments and the police department, there's a hyperlink there called
Doesn't sound fairly easy.
no, I'm looking at the,
I think it's called dashboard or something like that.
activity and statistics.
There we go.
And that'll bring you to the dashboard, and you could select various things to see activity. It's real time, so you could see it as of the current day, and it's very, very interactive and informational. The police had 2,810 calls for service, which was slightly lower than last month. In terms of recruiting for dispatch, they have a new examination process underway. Sworn vacancies, they have one candidate in the background phase, and there's 41 of 42 sworn officers filled. 38 total sworn staff available. There were a couple of promotions. Sergeant Jeff Foss-Harugan was promoted to lieutenant, and Officer Jonathan Garcia McCaltia was promoted to sergeant.
Cool.
There's planning underway for the National Night Out for August 4th at Elmridge Park. Stop the Hate program about hate crimes was held on June 8th, and approximately 40 participants were there. And that is it for the police department. For the fire department, they had 74 calls for May, but there was one interesting thing for those of you looking at history or buffs of history. The fire chief had seen that a past article regarding the fire department from May 1966, 60 years ago. Company 1 had 9 alarms for the whole month versus 74 for the department for May of 2026. So you can see a substantial increase
There's plenty of reasons behind that. Two of them were for loose cows.
Yeah, exactly. 2 RHFD members are participating in firefighter 1 and 2 CERT training, and 9 FD members are participating in firefighter 2 CERT training. They're attending class on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and some Sundays as well. Once the training is completed, these students will be state certified at the firefighter 1 and 2 level. 1 FD member has taken the Fire Officer 3 CERT course. The course is for chief officer level and is focused on human resource management, community relations, administration, inspection, and investigation, emergency services delivery, and safety. Facilitating officer development in the RFD is a critical task to support leadership succession planning. 1 FD member took the Deep Boating Safety course. This is an online 8-hour CERT course with a final exam. Upon completion of the course, the member will have acquired their safe boating license and will be able to operate Marine One for emergency response on the Connecticut River. And then one final thing was for former firefighter James Lamar, who had passed away in the line of duty in March of 2022, will be honored on September 27th at the National Firefighter Museum, I think in Windsor, or Windsor Locks. Thank you. So that was September 27th, Sunday. And then for the ambulance, the RHVAA had 136 responses for June. That's a 4.5% increase over last year. And then total responses through 2026, 762 responses, and that's a 29% increase over the prior year. For Aetna, they had 284 911 incidents in June, and that's basically on par with May. And it's fairly flat from a year ago. And that's it for public safety.
All right, thank you. Senior liaison?
I have no report, but we'll be meeting next Monday, the 27th at 4 p.m.
All right. Land acquisition and farmland preservation.
We have a meeting scheduled next Tuesday, July 28th at 6, but that is tentative. I have to talk to you about that. That may change.
And liaison to the state rep and state senator.
Thank you, Mayor. Here's what I have to report tonight. Representative Wood and Senator Lesser have both been exceptionally active in recent weeks. I feel as though I've been encountering them everywhere and in a strikingly broad range of civic, legislative, and community settings. Both joined us last night for the community carnival at Elmridge Park for residents who were unable to attend. That was a terrific community event, especially for Rocky Hills children. I want to thank Human, Youth, and Senior Services Director Hicks and her staff, Parks and Recreation Director Bowman and his staff, the Rocky Hill Police Department, Volunteer Ambulance Company, and of course Chief Carahy, and the entire membership of the Rocky Hill Volunteer Fire Department. Director Hicks and all involved designed and delivered an excellent event despite the logistical complications created by the rain date. Representative Wood has also played a central role in 2 recent developments of real consequence here in Rocky Hill. The first was a ribbon cutting for the Patriots Landing North at the State Veterans Affairs Campus. The project adds 20 temporary apartments for veterans and their families who are experiencing homelessness, are at risk of homelessness, or need short-term stability while working towards permanent housing. Those apartments are paired with supportive services designed to help veterans regain stability and make a successful transition into permanent community living. Representative Wood has been a consistent advocate for investments that recognize housing, health, dignity, and reintegration as interconnected public responsibilities with regard to our veterans. The second was Governor Lamont's ceremonial signing of Public Act 2633 at the Hanger Clinic here in Rocky Hill. Senator Lesser, Mayor Smith, and I joined Representative Wood, Lieutenant Governor Bysowitz, numerous legislators and state officials, clinicians, and patient advocates for the signing. This law expands insurance coverage for scalp cooling systems used during chemotherapy, prosthetic devices designed for athletics and physical activity, treatment for PANS and PANDAS, and fertility diagnosis and treatment under a broader and more inclusive definition of infertility. As House Chair of the Insurance and Real Estate Committee, Representative Wood was a leading proponent of this legislation and helped translate the experiences of patients and families into durable insurance protections. Senator Lesser has likewise remained very active in the district. He supported tenants organizing to address housing conditions, joined the Middlesex Hospital's officials in announcing $300,000 in state funding for a new ambulance serving that part of the region. I want to thank Representative Wood and Senator Lesser for the many ways they continue to show up for Rocky Hill and our residents. I don't take it for granted. Finally, because of our next council meeting occurring after the primary, I want to remind residents that the Democratic primaries for governor and Congress will take place on Tuesday, August 11th, with polls opening at 6 a.m. and closing at 8 p.m. Early voting runs from Monday, August 3rd through Sunday, August 9th. Hours are 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the 3rd, 5th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. Extended hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. will be available on Tuesday, August 4th, and Thursday, August 6th. Absentee ballot applications may still be submitted through the state's online system or at the Rocky Hill Town Clerk's office right here in this building. Ballots become available tomorrow, July 21st, and will begin going out to approved applicants. Completed absentee ballots must be received by the town clerk no later than 8 p.m. on primary day, August 11th. Because Connecticut conducts closed primaries, participation is limited to voters enrolled in the Democratic Party. Residents should verify their registration and voting information in advance. And that concludes my report. Mayor?
All right, thank you. School liaison?
No report.
All righty, moving on. We have nothing on the consent agenda. Old business, discussion, possible action, speed and red light cameras. Well, who would like to chime in? So just to recap, let's first summarize where we're at. So we've been talking about automated traffic enforcement, speed cameras, red light cameras. For the last few months, been I think on our agenda for at least a few months, something like that. Last month still this month. All right. July 1st, we had a town hall meeting. We had a lot of people in the room, I think 30 to 40 people in the room, something like that. We got a lot of written comments. The chief provided a kind of a rundown of different options available, what that might look like, kind of how the systems work. And prior to that, public safety has been talking about this for a while. We've had vendors come in and present their individual products and how their systems work, and how costs and the legalities around things and how all of that works. And and a lot of people provided feedback. I think the night of, we had a lot of people for, some people against, some people kind of hesitant with questions that I think we addressed some of those, but I think there's still some outstanding questions people maybe haven't addressed. Just myself being in the community and asking people their thoughts, I think people are still kind of unsure about what we want to do, and people still have some hesitation because maybe they still don't understand a lot of the details, and so this is a big decision for the town to make. It's happening in a lot of communities. There's a lot of talk in the news and stuff, so I think it behooves us to continue talking about it, at least. And either, as the chief has said, there's no rush, there's no deadline. Just so everybody's aware as well, watching at home or all of the people in this room, some of our neighboring towns have embarked on this. Weathersfield just concluded their warning period. They'll start issuing violations. They might have already started. I think it's somewhere right around now. And Newington recently settled on a vendor to start setting up cameras and going through their warning period and all the steps associated with that. Other towns have been rolling them out. We're all kind of aware a little bit more of like Middletown and some of the Fairfield County towns and stuff like that. So I don't know where everybody else is at. We got a lot of feedback from the public, and I think some of those have been addressed. I believe Melissa identified a few of the questions that maybe weren't addressed that night.
Yeah, but I didn't send it to everybody.
Yeah, no, I know, but we talked about it. We've talked about it a little bit. So yeah, I don't know how you guys feel. Anybody can weigh in now.
I mean, I can kind of give a little bit on some of this. I did a little research this weekend in prep for this, just based on some of the main comments that were, brought up. First, I think we should talk about just the safety part of this. That's the main point of this. There's been studies and there's figures and data from the Federal Highway Administration, and it's what's called the Cochrane Systemic Review. They did 35 studies on city programs around the United States as well as even in other countries. They did find significant crash reductions in the immediate vicinity of the camera sites, ranging from 8 to 49% of all crashes, 11 to 44% for fatal or serious injury crashes, with most studies around 14 to 25% for all crashes. Excuse me. The Federal Highway Administration cites New York City school zone cameras produced a 63% decrease in speeding, a 15% drop in crashes, and a 17% drop in injuries, and 55% drop in fatalities. And that's from school zone cameras. In Maryland, specifically Montgomery County, they found a 28% drop in collisions near camera sites after 1 year, and a 39% drop in injury or fatal collisions. And then there's more. There's Portland, Oregon, and as I mentioned, other countries like Barcelona, Spain, where they have these cameras. There's a lot of these cameras in Europe. With that, one of the things that was brought up was, I think it was. I forget his name. He said, well, wouldn't speeders just move to the next road over? Obviously, that's hard to study, but it actually is something. It's called the halo effect. They have actually studied this. And it's the speed reducing effect of a camera on the same road, they have done that. The speed reducing effect of a camera on the same road, both before and after the camera. They found speed reductions extending upstream and downstream of the camera itself, typically dissipating somewhere between 500 meters and 1.5, I don't know, it's in meters. 500 meters and 1.5
How many miles is that?
I don't know.
How many yards is that?
I don't know. 500 meters and 1.5 kilometers past the device. Older studies have found 2 to 3 kilometers even have a continued reduction of speed around the cameras. And several reviews specifically found no evidence of a negative rebound. If anything, cameras showed a positive halo effect, meaning reduced collisions in the surrounding area, not worsening. So they didn't see crashes or increasing in the side areas because of the cameras. But there is a obvious gap of that exact type of study. Just wanted to make clear on that. And also, one of the things kind of been thinking about too is that we might want to look at more facts on. There's been a lot of discussion on that this is a money grab, and I think we need to be sure that we're clear on that. And I want to just speak that there's been some research on that, especially locally, and as well as in Europe, where a lot of these cameras have been installed, that the purpose of these cameras and what happens over time is, when they first get installed and after the 30-day period, which we can extend that period as well, my understanding is, that the tickets, there's a lot of them, especially in areas where a lot of people are speeding. But over time, people know the cameras are there, and therefore that revenue is going to go down. And what it is the revenue is there to sustain the costs of maintaining that camera. That's the goal. And then any revenue that is there has to be used on public safety, road improvements, things like that. It can't be used for anything else. So it's not a money grab. This is all about safety, and the data shows that the safety is improving. And then the other thing I want to say too is I researched how often are these cameras hacked? Is there data on like hacking of these cameras or misuse? The data shows that there's not really hacking. There's a couple of cases of like authorized users like misusing the stuff, but it's like old tickets or something like that. It's not necessarily like the system, people's license plates getting, personal data. The research shows it's not that. So I kind of wanted to speak to the safety of these systems, that it is safe. The systems that are used are like federally regulated, and some of them are even a federally protected system that the federal government regulates. So I also wanted to speak to that because I think that was raised a couple of times. There's a lot of concerns also of like just being watched, more of, just the overall government is watching you, and these cameras are off unless a violation is happening, and that's a law. That's the state and federal law. That's how these cameras operate. So I just wanted to make those assurances as well on the record here. But if there's other things I think we want to talk about and get more research, I'm in favor of tabling this, but I do think this is an important thing for safety for our town. Just want to say that.
If I may just follow up a little bit of what you're commenting about. You're commenting, for the safety aspect, you're bringing up known accident areas, known accident fatality areas from what your research you just documented or just read. And I think that's valuable, but I would have to defer to our police chief. Do we have those areas in town like you're talking about? Do we have high accident areas based on speed? Then it would may be beneficial to put them there, but just to put them out there, cameras out there, just to, yes, they're going to slow people down. They will, but I think it has to be a prevention of accidents, not the so-called money grab as, we have been told by people. I just think there needs to be a reason to put a camera in a specific area based on more or less our police chief and our police department. They would know what problem areas there. We did that little area of Main Street by Kelson Row. I'd be curious how many accidents have been there. Yes, there's people going through their high rates of speed, I guess, or 10 miles over. There's a lot of them. But is it preventing an accident? I'd be curious, are there documented accidents in that area?
I believe that, Chief, you gave the locations where you've already been looking and researching. Was it just, can I ask you? Are you okay in putting you on the spot?
Sure.
At the presentation you gave at the public meeting, you gave, I think we had 5 or 6 locations
5.
that you had researched. And did you also, was crashes looked at, or was it only speeding?
We didn't necessarily, this started off with a,
Sorry.
just a speed analysis by a vendor that I happened to just inquire with. To compare that to accident trends and data, that would be something that we must do prior to the installation of the device anyway. So it wouldn't just be putting it up because we have a number of speeders. It'd also be a combination of reviewing that speed data, the crash data, and finally getting approval from MOTSA. So we can't just decide where they go up anyway. We still need to go through the DOT and get proper approvals. I do agree. There are cause and effect here, right? So slowing people down in a pedestrian-based residential area has a very positive effect for the peace of mind of your residents, our residents in those vicinities and areas. We can talk about intersections like I-91 southbound 91, And, that would be a spot that, yeah, I think we could show a direct correlation between a camera being there and a reduction in accidents specific. Those are some really angular, high speed or tend to be higher speed accidents and intersections like that. So from the very beginning of the onset, and I'll step away from the mic and let you keep discussing, but my onset was, I don't think we want to overdo this. I don't think that we want to be looking at locking the town down like a toll booth. I think if there's strategic locations that everyone can agree to, I stand behind that, I support that. But I do think it needs to be a combination of both speed and crash reduction.
Can we, if we do table this, can you come back to us next month with some of that information? I just don't want to say we're going to do this, then we're looking for the sites. You know what I mean? If you have documented sites prior, I'd be more inclined to vote in favor of it. Is that something that you think you could?
I have no problem
bring.
bringing crash data. Some of this stuff is available if you're looking to do your own research. The Yukon repository, you can find crash statistics for the town of Rocky Hill on the Yukon repository. We also have the data in our CAD system, and I'm happy to share that information. Doesn't necessarily mean that OTSA would approve a camera in those locations, but I'm certainly willing to share the data that we have.
That does raise, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
That does raise the question, though, because I did have location as my question mark. Like, when we vote on this, are we voting on location or just the fact that we're going to do this and then location is going to be determined later by somebody else other than us?
Well, I mean, we would be.
I know we'd have to get approved, it sounds
Correct.
like, right, but do
Well,
we have any say in that?
You absolutely do. If you design your ordinance that it has to go through either Public Safety Committee or for the council for approval, you would. You could write that into the ordinance,
Okay,
as an example.
so we have a vote,
I
so
mean,
to
if you
speak.
choose to write the ordinance in that way, yes, you would.
Okay.
We have significant latitude to strengthen our ordinance in ways that the statute doesn't require, but, and that's way too. I've discussed with folks that we can mirror language that we'd like to have in this to make it strong and durable in terms of, the statute's very clear about what we can use these cameras for. We could also mirror that language in our ordinance to be sure that if the state changes their mind and they pass legislation to allow these cameras to be used for other things, that Rocky Hill only uses it for these things, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I don't think we have to, I mean, if we move forward with this, I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel with ordinance language and everything. I think we could look at Weathersfield, Newington, take the best of what they have and customize it to what we desire in terms of data constraints and things like that. Just one question, Chief, on the CAD. You know, I'm looking at the accidents, and it just gives the street. Is there cross streets available? Like if Cromwell Avenue comes out as number one for crashes. Does it give a cross street, like West Street or Elm Street or New Britain Avenue? Or
Our CAD does, yes. What we're giving to the public is just a generality of where they're occurring. So internally, yes, we can see the intersection, latitude, longitude, GPS coordinates.
But I mean, I can't hit Cromwell Avenue and it gives me a list of Cromwell with cross streets.
I can see you're on the activity statistics
Yeah.
page. On that, no, I can certainly work with the vendor to try to update that tab. So for our purposes, yes, I do have sitting behind our desks and our commander's desk, yes, we can see locations, causation, we can make comparisons that what's the cause and effect of the accidents.
I think what would help, along with what Councilor Whalen was asking, is if you develop a list of top 5 or 6 accident locations with the cross streets on paper for us. You don't have to go through the vendor or anything like that.
Right.
Just so we have something to reference, because, I mean, to your point, I see West and 91 as critical. I see West and Cromwell as critical. Main Street, I mean, I just see Main Street here with 5 accidents. I don't know if it's Kelson Row, but that would be worthy. And West and Gilbert, I think, is pretty large, too.
Actually,
Just
so-
that information that we could kind of
Yeah,
consume.
the speed study looked at, so to check West and Gilbert off the list, that actually was one of the lower intersections, which surprised me for being here as long as I've been.
Yeah.
I thought we'd see higher numbers there, and we did not. I also thought we'd see higher speeds at Main Street and Tollgate, and we did not. So, I mean, again, when this wasn't the study to bring the system in, this was a study just to say, hey, this is a snapshot, and do we want to keep talking about it? So, I have no problem bringing in crash data and comparisons and intersections for, again, but if you were to pursue this and go down that road and write into the ordinance that it needs council approval or it needs public safety committee approval, however you want, again, that's just you saying, yes, we support this location. It does not mean that the state's going to approve us to be there. And you know, in some of our accidents, I could pull up, you know, on our map and say Town Line Road at Salis Dean has a, you know, higher number of crashes, but most of these are rear end crashes. They're not intersectional, they're not high speed. You got to kind of decide what you're looking for. The Safe Streets programming in the town was to slow folks down in residential areas and areas nearby that proximal to schools, school crossings and pedestrians. So Salis Dean may not have a ton of accidents at Parsonage Street, but we do have a ton of pedestrians in the morning and afternoon going to and from school and from the apartments to the, you know, and the houses in that area. Kelson Row, certainly a lot more pedestrian traffic today than we had 5 years ago. So I think, you know, it should be accident driven, but also I think quality of life and what our community wants out of it. A little bit more peace of mind in certain areas too, I think is just as important.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make a note, as you were saying about the revenue grab, we want the revenue to go down. So initially, there's going to be some revenue going towards public safety and improvements and things like that. But the overall objective of any system like this with any town is we want that revenue to go down because we know in that case it's working. People are slowing down and not causing the violations.
In any vendor we sign on, part of that's going to be a very public forward program to announce where these cameras are, the educational component. All we want you to do is to slow down. Really, that's it. And that makes us all a little bit safer in that regard. You know, so again, I think it's everyone, you know, it's a personal decision. For everyone is a little bit different. Everyone's a little bit more wary, and I understand that, and I get it, and that's what the conversation's about. So for next month, I'm happy to come back, either a report to public safety or back to the council about some statistics and data, and then let you chew on that and see if it has any meaning for you. You know, we're blessed. I will say we're not Newington, Weathersfield, we're not Manchester, we're not 4 lanes in each direction. We're a small bedroom community with maybe 3 thoroughfares that kind of everyone tends to migrate toward. We're blessed that we don't have a lot of accidents. We don't have a lot of high-speed accidents, but our goal is to if we can find the places where the critical accidents are happening, like the West Street corridor, I would absolutely endorse that area to start the program off. And we can debate Kelson Row all day. We know there's 2,600 violations in a 48-hour period of 10 miles and over. Is 10 too fast for you? You know, the bottom line is it's a newer area, and that what we studied was because it lines up with the Safe Streets program. That has been a goal of the town managers in the town since its inception.
Do you have any, like, anecdotal complaints that come in of near accidents, or, you know, because I know some of the people were saying that when they're walking in this area, people are speeding and they have to jump out of the way. Do you get any complaints on that? Because I don't know if any of that would be helpful information. If you do.
I mean, if you were to take a look at the public safety reports that we submit on a monthly basis, near the end of that report, you'll see the traffic posts that we are attacking every month. Probably been reporting that now for a better part of 18 months. And those are usually complaint driven. And some of this, you know, some of it is perception. Some of it is just the perception that people are going too fast. If I put the speed trailer out and came back to report to you, you might be shocked to know the numbers tend to be a lot lower than people think they are. And I made this point at that July 1st meeting, and, you know, but perception is reality for our community. Like, if they feel unsafe, it's our job to make them feel safer, even if maybe speed isn't really the problem, or isn't as big as a problem as you might think it is. But we do, when we receive those complaints and the feedback we get, like at these meetings, we put them on our list to attack.
I think going back a little bit to crash data, when we had people from DOT here talking about Silas Dean and the I-91 interchange there, exit 24, they showed us some of that Yukon crash data, and that intersection on Parsonage was one where they had multiple accidents. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of those ones, you know, I pass that area all the time, and it's not uncommon that there's traffic block. I think just a week or two ago, there was a massive accident closer to the highway. But it's relatively common that there'll be an accident that's big enough that you have to block off traffic and stuff. And there was a pedestrian fatality in that area over by the
Coles.
entrance to Coles. And so there's certainly some areas. So I think, I think we had 2 pedestrian accidents, pedestrian and vehicle accidents on the corner of Main Street and West Street within the last few years. Some of these are one-offs, but I think there's certainly some of that data out there that would show areas where accidents are more likely.
Actually, after the public safety meeting, I went, I'm going to embarrass myself a little bit. I went to the
You went to Taco Bell.
I went to
didn't
Taco Bell right there on Side Stage. And there was a huge accident right there. They blocked off the road that same night, right there.
Yeah,
I knew there was one recently.
Yeah.
for those, as you consider this, I think timing's really good for us. I like the pace that we're taking, I think, is very responsible. But our neighbors are now actively doing this. We have Newington developing their plan now. 120 days from now, they should be live in their test phase. And you have Weathersfield going live tonight. So I think if we were to, again, the council lingo, I don't quite all know, but table it if that's what you're talking about, and we sit back and we just kind of, drink our iced tea and just kind of watch what happens here over the next couple of weeks or months, perspectives might change. But again, I'm not in any rush here. I just wanted to, present a tool and opportunity. And the one thing I will say about the reduction in revenue, like you mentioned, all the vendors who have presented have tended to align with their reports, and what they have reported is about a 90% reduction in violations in the areas these cameras go in, and typically see between a 50 and 60% rate of payment. So essentially the 90% reduction leaves you with that small fraction of 10%, and then of that 10%, half the people pay, and usually are not repeating or revisiting the area. They're getting their one citation and they're moving on and learning their lesson. So the numbers definitely do go down, and that the studies have shown that around the country, and the vendors from their experiences are reporting the same thing, both locally and nationwide.
Question, we had a lot of people at the last meeting, and they were all living on secondary streets where they would probably want these cameras. Through the towns that surround us, are any of these cameras on secondary streets, not state-run?
I'm not aware of
major
any.
roads.
Typically,
I'm
what
not
I've
either.
seen is more arteries, thoroughfares, and state roads.
And school zones.
In school?
Yeah.
And a lot of school zones, because I think the state, when they look at either approving or denying a location, to approve the location in the first place, you have to be able to show data that it is a high-risk area, either through accidents or speed or something like that. Or if it's a school zone, I think it's like automatic.
Yeah.
Or something along
See
those
that.
lines. Because like the one I think I mentioned before, I went past one in Middletown, and it was a road where there's not a lot of traffic there. It was on a side back road. And those ones I think are more like, I don't know, I don't want to say automatically approved, but the DOT looks at it as like, no matter what, even if it's not a lot of traffic here, even if there are not a lot of accidents, we want to make sure that these areas are, people are going the speed limit in,
But I think a lot of our residents think they're going to be on their side roads, and I don't think this program's designed for that. And that's what I was just trying to
Right.
get any data from.
Barely
the
a few that spoke
Yeah.
brought up their concerns in front of their house.
Yeah. I think one way to look at that, because we got a lot of side roads where we've probably all heard a lot of complaints about, Westerly Terrace as a cut through, these roads like Orchard and Old Main Street, One thing I would say is, right now, if you look at the CAD data, if you look at the dashboard of where officers are posted up for traffic enforcement, a lot of them are on the main roads like Cromwell Ave. And they might be also on Main Street and things like that. If we had a camera there permanently, that's a place the officer wouldn't necessarily have to post up every single day. And that would free them up to park on Westerly Terrace or Old Main Street or somewhere else to do more traffic enforcement in those non-arterial roads. And I think one other thing, just one other thing I wanted to get out before I forgot about it, is we haven't talked a lot about it here, but some of people's other hesitancy is about what happens with their data and the surveillance and all of those things. And I think one way to look at this is this program is totally separate from like an ALPR license plate reading program or something like that, because this is more, it's basically a radar gun with a camera attached to it. It's a radar gun that's pointing in one area all the time. It's not constantly recording video. It's not constantly recording license plates. If it tracks somebody that's over 10 miles over the speed limit, it takes a picture. That's the only data that it collects is at that instance versus the constant thing. And I think some of that privacy concerns are totally understandable, but I think that is a different debate than this. Two different systems. And I think keeping that idea kind of separate is important. Yeah?
Okay, I just have a few thoughts. I feel like the public safety case is substantial for it in certain places in town. But that case, it could be made for any of the tools we would use for speed reduction and getting this type of driving handled. I did want to, I'm glad you brought up the difference there. I wanted to state clearly for residents, and other counselors and I have talked about this, that there's some confusion out there, and it's been talked about, but let's just repeat it. We have ALPR cameras in town. They are a different system. We have 2 flock cameras that we have access to, but are, right? Oh, one?
Just one.
Sorry, just one flock camera that we have access to for the police department. And we have the potential of this now separate type of system. First of all, I encourage residents, if you have any issues that you want us to hear about related to any of these systems, please feel free to reach out to public meetings at rockyhillct.gov or to any of our email addresses on the town website. We want to hear from residents about all of these issues. But this system, as the mayor described, when it's a speed camera, would not be taking pictures of everything. But I did want to clarify, because we've, again, over and over been through this, the red light cameras, if we do that, they do capture something from each vehicle as they're stopped, as they're there, right? And then there's a very brief
It's
period.
like a
My understanding is
short
we
video
can-
or 5-second video or something
We
like
can,
that.
Exactly.
it's a video, but it's not, again, only if you meet the
Yeah.
threshold of activating the camera. Like the mayor said, the radar gun with a camera, it'd be a red light, monitoring that red light. When that red light goes on,
Exactly.
and there's now a digital change in that picture, it's gonna snap that video.
Slightly different
take the video,
operation,
I
but
should
more or less similar thing.
Yeah.
I've also been, I went back to the presentation you gave. I do want to compliment it again. You gave a really thorough presentation at the public meeting that we had. I looked at some of the stuff going on in other municipalities, Fairfield and what they've been reporting, Middletown and what they've been reporting, and some of the broader national coverage too. And I find myself not at a place of indecision. It's not that I'm unformed in opinions on the subject at this point. We've been getting a lot of information, but I feel it's hard to wade through because of the compelling nature of the arguments on both sides of this. As you described, we're not Weathersfield, we're not Middletown in terms of the level of public safety risk we seem to have on the roads, and they seem to be dealing with more traffic crashes, et cetera, I gather.
Yeah, I think I reported a metric at Public Safety a few months back where we're comparing ourselves to Weathersfield. There were 2.5 times the number of crashes that we had in the same period of time. How severe they were, I don't know. It's just looking from that Yukon repository. And Cromwell was actually higher than us in that same time period too. So we are blessed. I think some of it is the way the town is designed. It is congested because of the way it's designed. I think that does cause folks to have to slow down regardless. But look, speed still is an issue. It's still a problem. It's the #1 complaint that I receive all the time.
Yeah. And I also agree with the concerns being raised across the aisle over here. I think that we do need to take a deliberate approach to this, get even more public feedback. And I'd say for me, I feel like the recurring institutional lesson that I read from all the national reporting on various municipalities and states, if we really want this to feel safe, secure for our residents, then it's basically got to have unimpeachable data protection. and oversight that we can trust. And so we need to get into it very deeply, make sure our ordinance is very deliberate if we do it. And I would offer that from my point of view, and I hope the rest of us would agree to this, that we're willing to go towards the process, but also to pull back if we need to at any point, and depending on what we decide. But I appreciate everything that you've been doing to keep us informed on this, and I would be supportive of a motion to table it.
Real quick, so it sounds like, one, we want to get some more specific crash data summary for the next meeting. Is that correct? So we could get that. And then what about, and we don't necessarily need to make a decision on this, but, I mean, if we want to keep this moving forward, maybe we do. Usually for my job, if we're having an open house, we want to sometimes do one during the day to hit the people that maybe can't hit the evening. I don't know if we want to consider a more during the day kind of public meeting for input, and maybe another nighttime meeting. I don't know how, it might be overkill. I don't know, just a thought.
I'd agree with that, because I did a little statistical information based on our July 1st meeting of all the people in favor and against. And then I looked at the mayor's June 30th page where he mentioned it, and I tallied all those up, and surprisingly, 60% of people were against it, doing this system. It seemed like to July 1st meeting, most of the people that came to the podium were in favor. They spoke openly. It seems like with the with the written stuff, a lot of them were against it, that were sending emails. On the mayor's page with the written part, most of them were against it. So I don't know if there's something we need to get more communication out there, more input from the public, I think, more education to the public about the two different type of cameras.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is based on not precise knowledge
Misinformation.
when it comes to data security, how long the data is held, what
Right.
happens to it. It's a revenue grab. I mean, if we dispel some of these rumors, I think people will feel a little more comfortable. The only thing I would say before we make a motion is maybe seeing some template of an ordinance that we can at least start thinking about at our next meeting.
I think it wouldn't hurt. I mean, get that process moving if we do want to move forward with it. And like Zach said, we can always, Councilor Van Luling said, we can always put a stop if we
Yeah,
want to move.
exactly.
I do thank everybody for not rushing this to a vote. You know, we're trying to think this out. The chief's been very informative, and he's not pressuring anything either. I think we need to, I know some things go a little slow with our government, but this is important that we figure this out first, and we have the public support with us, I think.
And I think another telling thing is every town where this has been a debacle, it is where the public felt, either accurately or not, that they were not notified in advance, or they weren't part of the conversation. Where they all of a sudden were surprised by the situation. Now, it's really tough with how busy everybody is in their life to stay up to date on everything that's going on, in your community. Because we can talk about things 100 times and then people are still surprised when they happen. Say, where were you a month ago when we were asking for your feedback? But it's been my experience in talking with people that are hesitant about it. As soon as we describe how they work, people are a lot more like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So, I mean, what I'm hearing is a few things. I think getting a little bit more crash data, maybe, or some of that stuff in town, just the Yukon crash depository stuff. I was just looking at some, but I remember seeing a map that DOT had brought to one of our events, and it was like a heat map around hot areas where there had been multiple accidents.
We could do that on the activity statistics page, but when you do it, it just looks like a big blob. It doesn't do.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah.
think if we were a larger community, it'd be a little, look better on the map, but I try to give the best presentation out there as we can.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I'm hearing a little bit about that. I think that maybe seeing what an ordinance might look like would be helpful. And I'm also hearing that, maybe having a conversation during the day. I'm thinking that an easy thing to do would be to hijack the senior center at lunchtime or something, or somewhere around there. We maybe not all could be there.
Mayor, if you could give me an opportunity, I have a phone call out to Mark Janey from Rock Hill Life as well.
Yep.
Hoping, I know he wants to follow up and have a conversation about this program. If you can give me a little time, I can keep you informed as to when I connect with. I called him this afternoon waiting for a call back. But if we can get that publication out, maybe announce the date of the prospective meeting you're describing at the same time, that might be very helpful.
Yeah, I would say the turnaround time for Life is like a month and a half or something. Wow. It's a long time to get something to actually publish in that, but rare reminder, turnaround time is Tuesday to Thursday. And it's easy enough to send something to them. Sometimes it's hard to get a hold of them, but
I
it's
think
easy
an
to get
article
something
will
posted
bring
there
a
too.
little bit of interest to that, though, too.
We should.
Yes.
Meaning, just an announcement, the rare reminder may go unnoticed, I think. I
Right.
think an
Oh, we
article,
should,
yeah.
I mean, we could certainly have
think
article
both
with a
is-
conversation. I'm just saying timing for an event
know, yeah.
is hard to like place in time.
I think I've not said anything because you've all made very good points. I think the feedback of the community is so vitally important. I think it would have been very difficult for somebody who was against the cameras last meeting, after a few of them spoke at the beginning of the meeting, to say what they really thought. I think they passed on saying something because half the people in here didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I'm really in the middle on this one. Like, I don't want it to be a money grab. Unfortunately, money is fungible. You can say it's not for whatever, but it's going into the road fund and the police fund and whatever. But I just think the survey, is there a way that we can get a well-worded survey out to the town too? Not just the hearings, because we got to make some assumptions. Because one of the things, if I were to answer that question and I thought it could cost the town money, I'd say no.
Yeah.
But we kind of know we have options that won't cost us money, right? Although a couple of them do have a recapture, which we got to be careful of, right? So we haven't even, I know we got to get to the philosophy of doing the cameras, 100%. And the safety bit, very hard to argue, and I don't argue it. And I do think the distinction, although I love stats, Melissa, I think the distinction of where those stats come from are huge, and that's why your input is incredibly valuable. Even your interpretation of the data you read, and you've already done that a little bit, which I think is necessary for us and people who are going to make an opinion on it. So I would love to get I don't know, can we get a survey out? I mean, I'd rather go with what the residents think as opposed to what I think, because I am, Zach, you said, I'm in the middle.
I asked the same question, actually, but Zach, go ahead and, no, I don't, I believe it's very expensive and difficult,
Yeah,
but I'm gonna let others speak to that.
Is it?
I've worked around doing
can-
public polling
We can
Yeah.
and surveys.
Well-
I know that,
They're saying they could do it.
I'm not saying we couldn't do it. I'm sure there is a cost for mailing out a physical mailer.
Right.
Otherwise, you're working a phone bank or another means. Basically, communicating the poll or the survey is the expensive
Well, I
part.
know the Park and Rec has done
Just
stuff in the
gonna say,
past.
just the
But my
Parks
o-
and
my
Rec
only-
would
I mean,
just
my only
Google
concern
Blast,
with-
yes or no.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna reach a lot.
Which I could say that would be a valuable piece of
Well,
information, but I
that's
want us
one
to be
piece,
very
right?
much like what you brought to the table tonight. It's valuable to hear that the feedback that you tallied up ended up being 60-40.
Well, my concern with the survey is that there should be a frequently asked questions before it, so people know some of the concerns that we brought up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People are coming to the podium saying, it's a revenue grab. They're going to be following me
Yes.
24/7.
Yes.
And
I have
a
the
lot of it's
table
not-
that I
yeah.
prepared.
And
that
so if they don't have that, they're going to be answering the survey based on what
I
they
love-
know at
I-
that
that's
point.
a great
Yeah,
idea.
that's a
I
good point.
agree with that thought. I was only getting at quality of sample that we get in terms of responses is going to be determined by the methods we use.
Right, but if we get something from the senior center, again, you're gonna get mostly seniors attending that, right? So now you get that
Yeah.
segment of the population. Then you do the Park and Rec, you got mostly families or, I'm just saying that just take all the data and compile it, and then help us make a decision. Because, again, Melissa's facts are good, his facts are good, so I just would love to I love the slow approach, by the way. I couldn't agree more, because if I was voting on it tonight, I honestly don't know where I would've went.
I think we all feel the same.
Maybe reach out to the PTOs as well, because that's another population, I think.
Yeah, I think any way that we can try to capture people that we know are residents, because the social media avenue, and a lot of the ones that I found that commented on, well, in general on social media,
They're-
I find a
they're
lot of people
speeders.
that comment, their account doesn't even look like it's a real person sometimes, or it'll be like, oh, I live in Beacon Falls, and you're like, okay, well, that's
Yeah.
not quite as relevant,
Right, that was gonna be my question is how do you do a Google poll to make sure the people who are commenting actually live in town? Like, we don't want people from,
Well, that's why I'm saying, we've done
Yeah.
it in the past with
We
Park
can,
and
we
Rec.
can do that with Parks and Rec. We can talk to Dr. Zito to see if we can do something through the Board of Ed. So we can get, like you said, we can get pieces.
And we can go to the senior center and do a handwritten one that they stick in a box, and
100%.
then
Yeah.
we could look at all the data and say, based on the Parks and Rec survey, 75%
But I do think
were
that's what I was
favorable.
saying about the assumptions
Yeah,
need
that's
to be
good.
known. John, you hit it.
Yeah.
Because
gotta
there,
have
I frequently asked questions,
Yeah,
anyways.
I think that's good. All right, so,
I love data from all sorts of places. My recommendation to everyone here is just extra careful application of how much weight you apply to each and every piece and the totality. Let's all be as critical thinkers as we can through this process, because the samples could be from various places.
so what, Counselor Savigny and Whalen, I took all the notes, I took Chief Kless' presentation, and I compiled it into general categories and how a response to each of them and what might be lacking or whatever. I can send that to you, as well as some of the other research I did. I put together a big email. I can send that to you guys too to look at. I'll send it to you as well. And we can decide if we want to use something like that in public domain and, to kind of, as a fact, frequently asked questions kind of thing, just to,
Do we have a motion on the table? to
not
table?
yet.
I would entertain one.
I'll make a motion to table the discussion possible action on speed red light cameras.
All in favor? Aye.
That's why
All
we
right.
discuss first.
Yes, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, new business, discussion possible action, Memorial Naming Committee referrals.
Yes, the
One.
Memorial Naming Committee met, and we had two proposals, and we approved both of them. I'll do the motion separately.
Folks at home.
Yes. And then after the motion seconded, I'll want to speak briefly on the motion. So motion number one, to accept the Memorial Naming Committee's recommendation to name the pocket part at the southeast corner of intersection of Glastonbury Avenue, Route 160, and Main Street, Route 99, quote, Blue Star Memorial Garden, unquote.
Second that.
Okay, just briefly, the Blue Star organization recognizes military families, and it kind of highlights the sacrifices that they and their families make. And they also provide services to them, and I think it's very appropriate for us to honor them. So I support the motion and hope that the council will accept the naming of the pocket park Blue Star Memorial Garden.
Any other discussion?
That's already been seconded. Anybody else have comments?
I mean, I think it's great. I know a lot of work.
You ever take the TO?
No, the way she read it was
Yeah,
accurate.
I read it without without
Yeah.
the word the.
Extraneous
In,
those.
yeah, in our agenda, it's listed as the Blue Star Memorial Garden, but in the motion, it's only, the was removed. But I think this is great. I know a lot of work went into doing this. I know they have a very specific procedure for where they place these Blue Stars, or these Blue Star memorials. So, yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. I don't think.
I agree. Can you, did somebody nominate it to the naming committee?
Yes.
We get applications.
And they submit it to a naming committee?
Yeah.
Yeah, submit it, and Ray gives it to us, and we have a meeting, and we discussed it. And I think we all had the applications
Town Bagley
beforehand.
has submitted
I
it.
saw that,
Yeah.
that's right, okay.
Yeah, it was in the meeting packet. There's
Yeah.
the two applications were in there. Yep.
I agree with it.
Usually, it's good if somebody is there that can explain, I mean, these were kind of self-explanatory, but sometimes it's like, if you come and explain why you think. it
Yeah,
should
no,
be.
absolutely.
Sometimes
yeah.
there might be people or somebody that people don't know, the younger people don't maybe know that some of the people that somebody may come up with, so it's good to have somebody come and say, hey, we want this because blah, 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 they did this for the town. But, so, yeah, it's,
And there is a plaque out there already in that little
Yeah.
garden for this,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ceremony
But
was,
the-
I believe,
I-
last summer, I
Right.
think.
but now
I
it's
think of it as
official.
kind of crossing a T, dotting an I kind of situation, and I did want to say thank you to the previous administration for getting this done in the first place, and I'm thrilled for us to put that little cap on it.
Counselor Whalen and I are the two council members on that
Yep.
committee, and then there's 3 members of the public, or the
And it was
staff.
unanimously passed at our memorial naming committee. Everybody voted for it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
And the second one, I move to accept the Memorial Naming Committee's recommendation to name the barn at the Rocky Hill Community Farm, quote, Joe Kohanic Memorial Barn.
I'll second.
Oh,
And I'd also like to speak on that. Joe has been a longstanding member of the community. I actually had his daughters in class, so I knew Joe and Jan for quite some time. Joe served the town in many different ways, probably most notably as fire chief and a member of the council and as mayor. When he was mayor, he worked with Tony Straska, which is not the easiest thing in the world to do, and came up with a proposal for the town to purchase the land for a community farm, worked to get the referendum passed. And I think it was very fortunate for our 3 local farmers that we had that land, because when we had the catastrophic weather, was it 2-3 years ago, it provided them a place that they had crops, and gratefully, they were all able to keep their heads above water, which we're all grateful for, because I use all 3 of them. And Joe also was a mentor to me when I first got on council. He kind of showed me the ropes, explained decorum and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's highly appropriate to name the barn Joe Kohanic Memorial Barn, and I encourage the council to accept the recommendation.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment to add to that, and you said it very, very eloquently. I remember those years, and Ray and Mona can certainly remember too, the back and forth negotiations with the prior owner. And I highly doubt we would have the community farm today if it wasn't for Joe's involvement. He was everything in one person: firefighter, mayor, political activist. He was a blue-collar worker who cared deeply about Rocky Hill, and I think this is a very fitting commitment to Joe's legacy.
I read a little, some information on Joe at the Memorial Naming Committee. I'd like to read it again. Joe was a good friend of mine. Joe was born July 2nd, 1944. He passed November 5th, 2020. He grew up in Weathersfield and married his high school sweetheart, Janice, in 1966, where their first home they purchased was in Rocky Hill. They raised 4 beautiful daughters in our town. Joe was a servant to society, starting as a teenager when he joined the United States Navy. Joe was a volunteer for our fire department for 37 years. He held all ranks within the department, ultimately being chief for 11 years. Joe helped build the fire department's training grounds, and his emphasis in training for our members was critical for the whole department. He also helped develop the fire museum. Joe held many public positions in our town. He was a member of the Rock Hill Historical Society, he was a member of Planning and Zoning, he was on our council, he was a public safety chair, and farmland preservation chair as well. Joe became our deputy mayor, and finally was our mayor in 2018. Joe was no nonsense type man who believed in doing the right thing. While Joe chaired the Farmland Preservation Committee, I was a first-year member. That got me into town politics when I was asked to be on that committee. He was a mentor for me also. While on that committee, we talked numerous times about purchasing the Straska farm on New Britain Avenue. The committee became frustrated when Mr. Straska decided we weren't going to purchase it and that we were done with any further negotiations. That didn't stop Joe. Joe decided behind the scenes, he worked with Mr. Straska and ultimately came up with a deal that went to a referendum for our town. Our town members voted to purchase the Straska farm, and we now know it as a community farm. These are just some of the examples of the passion and drive that Joe had to preserve land in Rocky Hill and his joy for agriculture. Whatever project Joe started, he would give 110%, and he wouldn't back down until it was finally finished. So I would support this also.
That was great. Anybody else have anything to add?
Well, I just have to write one line, he's a mentor for me. For the political thing.
All right, well, it sounds like, it's, just almost the least that we could do for his years of service to the town. I know his family, I saw his daughter at the carnival yesterday volunteering to raise money for the fire department still. So I guess all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, everyone.
Great people in this town.
Yeah. Well, how do you follow that? Award of the bid to, for the Hayes Road Sidewalk Project. Do we have more information about that?
This was supposed to come before finance, but the meeting was canceled, so it's coming here. Mona, I'm not sure if you want to give just a wrap-up of what it's for.
I think, did you want to? Okay, yeah, so as we mentioned, this should ordinarily go to finance. We did have a bid. As you can see in the attachment, there are 10 bidders. We're requesting the award of bid to go to Weber's Nursery, who was the lowest bidder and qualified bidder by review of the engineering department. The bid amount, the $114,148.50, does come from the LoCIP funds, which was their one of the expected uses of those funds and falls within budget. Actually comes in lesser than what we were anticipating.
Now, is this fully funded by a grant, or is there a
Correct.
percentage?
Yes, 100%.
All ours? Okay. When's the project starting, do we know? If it gets approved tonight?
Get a sense to start?
Probably I'm thinking towards the middle, end of August. It's, we just went out to bid, we have to award the bid, have the pre-construction meeting and, get going.
Just in your write-up, the project description, I don't know what some of the abbreviations are. You have a CMP, existing CMP will be removed. Do you know what that?
I'm going to let.
Culvert, that
Right.
usually stand for.
Oh, yeah, concrete.
Oh, it's concrete, CMP. And what's the HDPE?
HDPE, I have no idea.
That's a plastic pipe.
High-density
Pipe.
plastic.
Yeah, plastic something, yeah.
So they'll take out the concrete, or actually it's corrugated metal pipe. It's a corrugated culvert.
Okay,
They're
that's
gonna
probably
replace it
right.
with concrete. Yeah.
That's probably right with my pasture, is there's a drainage ditch, so they're gonna enclose it. Okay. Thank you.
I'll make the motion. I make the motion be it resolved that the Rocky Hill Town Council award the bid for Hayes Road sidewalk construction to Weber's Nursery, Inc. of New Britain at a base bid of $114,148.50. Based upon the review process conducted by the engineering team, Weber's Nursery, Inc. has been recommended and is the lowest bid offer. This project will be funded with state LoCIP funding.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just to say that I think this is an excellent thing that we're getting done. Another new sidewalk, a part of town that has some sidewalk on one end of the road, and will connect it to Wesley Terrace. And I was also equally thrilled to find out that it's not going to have an adverse effect on farm work that goes on that same road. And I'm thrilled that we're getting, what is it, 700 feet of new sidewalk? 775 linear feet of 4-foot wide concrete sidewalk. The best.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. Oop, all right, mayor's report. Well, we only have one meeting a month now, so sorry, but we've gotten a little bit backed up on notifications. But Councilor Van Luling covered what's, might be one of our most exciting ribbon cuttings that we've had in town for a little bit, and that is the addition of additional temporary housing on the Veterans Campus. I was at that ribbon cutting. It's a great program. We house about 170 veterans and families there after this project. It's 6 townhouses and 14 efficiency apartments for veterans and their families to temporarily stay, in some cases getting back on their feet and getting the wraparound services that are available at the VA. We have a great campus there, great people that work there, and I think it's just a really great setting and is truly affordable housing for folks that are there, and frees up just all kinds of opportunities. But as was pointed out by our representative, Carrie Wood, there's still more opportunity. There's another building with more efficiency and housing units in it that could be rehabbed, and we're looking forward to continuing to encourage the state to invest in that. Also, over the past couple weeks, I hope everybody has a chance to see our new public art in town. We have 2 painted crosswalks, one this last weekend and one the weekend before that. So we have dinosaur footprints on Church Street just in time for the 60th anniversary of Dinosaur State Park, which happens this month. That was completed this last weekend with help with coordination with the Rocky Hill PD to help with traffic. And then the Rainbow Hearts crosswalk in the parking lot here at Town Hall was completed the weekend before that. Once again, this was all done with the nonprofit Rocky Hill Arts Now through donations and grant funding, so it was no cost to the taxpayers. And just, I like to think that just this talking about these projects has also spurred a lot of other things. So if you haven't noticed, the Historical Society also has historic photos now in the exterior of the building. There was Make Music Day just a month or so ago, which also had some art outside of the Historical Society. So we're starting to see a lot of this activity around the town center, and the feedback I've gotten from people in the neighborhood, people walking out of the senior center is overwhelmingly positive. I was talking to somebody the other day and said, my car is parked over there, but I'm gonna go this way because that makes me smile. So it's really good. It's a good vibe around here right now. I would invite anybody in the public, any other organization that has any ideas of projects that they wanna take on, to bring them to the council, bring them to various departments in town to talk through, because we have a process, and this is something that I think is a really nice touch for our town center here, but we've got all sorts of other opportunities across town. Other recent events, we had our 250th celebration and the kickoff for our summer concert series a couple weeks ago. It was really well attended, despite the weather. It was on a makeup day. We seem to not be able to get away from bad weather, and whenever we have an event this year. Our community carnival was on Sunday. Great event, great for families. Also affected by weather, but. I think we got a lot of great stuff going on. That's just scratching the tip of the iceberg for the stuff that we've done before. So at the end, I'll touch on the upcoming events that we have in the next couple weeks. Right now, just want to update everybody. Obviously, we're still talking about speed and red light camera stuff. We're going to, we tabled that discussion. We're going to continue talking about it. At our last meeting or the one before that, we talked about an RV and commercial vehicle parking on the road stuff, and the town is still looking into making a more comprehensive change to some of our parking to kind of not just do a quick ordinance that does this Band-Aid, but more comprehensive. So the town is still working on that stuff between the police department and planning. We also, in the last couple months, we've been talking about tax relief options, and do we change, pull some levers differently. Finance Committee should be talking about that in upcoming meetings. That's still kind of an ongoing discussion. We're also talking, I spoke at the Economic Development Commission in favor, and they're offering their support in favor of a business incentive program, which is something that'll go in front of the Finance Committee to look into. That came up kind of at the end of our budget process as well. So that's another ongoing conversation. In regards to concierge, now known as the Beacon, as of a month ago. Just so everybody knows, the property hasn't been sold to our knowledge. They rebranded. The Attorney General is still in ongoing conversations with them, working out ongoing oversight, coming to an agreement so that there's a plan for ongoing oversight and inspection of the property. Had some delays in that as they work through some details, but that seems to be on the near horizon, so that's nice. And lastly, ongoing stuff. I was in a meeting with DOH, CHFA, Representative Wood, and the Housing Authority to get back past some challenges in finishing the Housing Authority project. But it seems like we have gotten past that relatively. We should be wrapping that up, so that project should be done here most likely in the next month or so as well, which is really nice. Millions of dollars spent down there to rehab the Housing Authority property, so that's good. Not millions of dollars by the town. Spent millions of dollars investment from the state and Department of Housing for that. So upcoming events. Tomorrow at the library from 10 to 4, the Mobile Whale is going to be there. I don't know exactly how this works. Apparently they're going to do a giant blow-up whale inside of the library. They say it will fit. I spoke with the library director the other day, and he was like, they said it'll fit. I don't know how, but so stop by the library if you want to see how that works. On the 23rd, I've got my monthly coffee hour. That's Thursday. I've got my monthly coffee hour at the Senior Center at 10:30. All are welcome. You don't have to be a member of the Senior Center. It'll be in one of the rooms off the lobby there. The summer concert series continues next Tuesday and the Tuesday after that. It's at 6:30 at Elmridge Park. It's a good time, once again, no cost. August 1st is Dinosaur Day at Dinosaur State Park. It's their 60th anniversary. So get out there. If you haven't been, I was talking with the park director the other day, and he said every single day somebody comes in and they say, I've lived in Rocky Hill for 50 years and this is the first time I've been here. So don't be that person. Check that off your bucket list. Not that it should be on your bucket list because it's always available. And then just one more reminder, the first Friday of every month, the United Methodist Church down the street has a Veterans and First Responders breakfast, which is free. They've been doing it for like a year and a half now, something like that. They got a grant to provide it. It's a good time. So if you are a veteran, first responder, or honestly, if you just show up, they're gonna feed you anyway. It's a pancake breakfast. It's good conversation. The last one, they had 60 people there, which was like a new record for them. So I don't know if it's good or bad. Maybe it's good that the word is getting out. I'm going to stay optimistic that that's the reason that everybody's coming out for a free breakfast. But meet some of your neighbors, re-encounter some of your neighbors. We usually have some people from the fire department there. And sometimes it's familiar faces, but it's also new faces. It's a good time. So I encourage everybody, if you didn't know about that, to do that. And then I'll just put one more pin in. Early voting for the primary starts for Democrats August 3rd. Early voting's here at the community center, and you can request an absentee ballot anytime now as well if you're not able to make it in there. And that is all I have. Turn it over to you, Mr. Town Manager.
Okey dokey. Just a couple of quick updates on some grant projects. Elm Street sidewalks, that's a LOTSIP grant, state LOTSIP grant. The easements had to be redone per state requirements. We did some easement appraisals a while back. The state did not like them, so we had to redo them. Letters are going out, or they have gone out already, to the abutting property owners as of last week at least. Glastonbury Avenue, our engineering department is making some tweaks to the plans as required by DOT. The State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO, has to review the plans. They take 30 days. That is happening this week. Century Hill Sidewalks 2, that is another LOTSIP grant, I believe. SHPO has to review that plan also. And there's a little sidewalk issue in a section of the sidewalk that dips down. It's a little wet, and a wall may be required. Or maybe we will try to go the least expensive route and maybe hopefully cooperate with the golf course owner, maybe utilize a portion of the golf cart if that's appropriate.
He's
To
very
be determined.
cooperative in general.
You may have noticed that the water is not running in the fountain out in front of Town Hall. Public Works had been doing some excavation. They repaired a pipe, I believe. And we are waiting for the remaining parts to be delivered so facilities can actually get that up and running. The steps for the library, that bid is ready. I'm not sure if it actually has published yet.
Not yet.
But it will be very soon, correct? Yeah. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Touching on a comment the mayor made regarding the housing authority, we're looking to schedule a public hearing in the August meeting to reprogram some of the old small cities money that has been hanging around for quite a few years, about $175,000 worth, to reprogram that small cities money into the housing authority small cities grant project, which is currently being undertaken. So we need to redo a public hearing, which we will do August 8th. And the consultant for the Housing Authority will be here to present that particular public hearing. And the mayor hit upon the revisions to the RV large vehicle ordinance, which is a section of the streets and vehicle ordinance. So community development is doing a comprehensive overall revision of that ordinance. So we do it all at one time instead of piecemeal. A quick reminder, the chief shot me an email, Police Chief Klett shot me an email earlier this afternoon. He had mentioned in public safety that they were planning a swearing-in ceremony for the newly promoted Lieutenant Foss Rugen and Sergeant Garcia Baculta. They're looking for Friday, August 14th here at the Town Council Chambers beginning at 11 and approximately lasting until, beginning at 10 a.m. and lasting to approximately 11 a.m. And if possible, if, if the commissioner, councilors can attend, that would be fantastic for both of the, for Sergeant Garcia, McCulta, and Fosbergen. Did you mention the camera, the speed cameras being implemented on 91? I don't know if you mentioned that.
I did not,
You did
no.
not. We received a letter from CONDOT indicating that they will be operating speed control cameras along I-91 along exits 23 and 24, beginning last week. So I haven't seen anything. I know the mayor hasn't seen anything on the highway, but they will be putting up the necessary signage, and they will be issuing citations if they have to. It's a good maybe precursor to see what happens.
Exactly.
Is it just between 23 and 24?
They indicated, I'm not sure, but they did say in your town on I-91. So they may have sent notices to Weathersfield and
Yeah.
Cromwell.
So they,
I'll slow
My-
down on Rocky Hill and speed up.
my understanding is that the state has a program now for work zones
I knew
and
that,
speed enforcement and work zones on the highways. We got a letter, I don't know if it was this one, or if we got a letter originally that it was gonna start on like a Monday. It was like July 7th or something like that. And I put something out on social media being like, well, this is pretty timely because we're talking about it right now. And then a week later, we got another letter that said, it's starting July 13th. So I haven't seen anything yet, but I think they might have been delayed by some of the weather that we've had and, other issues. And it sounds like it might just be that they're doing some work there for a short period of time and they have to give us notice in advance of it or something like that. But I would just say, yeah,
Okay, so
everybody
it's-
keep an
it's
eye
still
out.
the work zone, okay.
Yeah, it's a work zone, and there hasn't been a work zone there that I've seen. I haven't seen one of these areas with the automated traffic enforcement since they did it as a pilot program in East Hartford, like a couple years back. So I don't know what that looks like exactly. I'm sure there'll be signage, and if anybody is going too fast, you'll get something in the mail. And I think the way that it works is, I think if they still have a warning period, maybe. I don't know if they still have a warning period where they first send it up, unless you're going over a certain amount. Like if you're going over 85 in the work zone, then they just send you a ticket, no warning. Either way, everybody, keep an eye on your speed, particularly through there, which we would hope that you would be doing anyway.
Yeah, they will be issuing warnings or infractions, so maybe depending on how fast you go through here.
Yeah. It's definitely if you're over a certain speed, I think it's 85. If you're over 85, you get a ticket no matter what. No warning, even if there's a warning period. But I think that they're only going to be there for a short period of time anyway. So it might just be a lot of warnings. I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, and the last one, moving on, I have word from Community Development that MDC will be starting to mill and pave Town Line Road. That's good news. That road has been deplorable for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And that's all I have.
All right, I'll make a motion for executive session. Pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, Section 1-210, subsection B, subsection 9, with the town manager, director of human resources, legal compliance and risk management, and director of finance and operations, records reports and statements of strategy or negotiations with respect to collective bargaining with FOP Lodge 043.
All in favor? Aye. All right.
I need 2 minutes.
2-minute break,
Yes.
or 10 minutes break.
I'm fine with 2 or 5.
I don't think
putting
you
it on.
realize you're gonna
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.